Dere, and welcome to the 7th video of our series History Lessons with RedWineLover17. In the last video I introduced you to the HMS Fiji. We are now on to tier 7 and today we are looking at the light cruiser HMS Edinburgh. In total there have been 6 ships named HMS Edinburgh, named after the Scottish capital. In addition, there was a ship with a similar name, HMS Duke of Edinburgh, and the First Sea Lord has announced that a Type 26 frigate will be named HMS Edinburgh, but this is only in the planning stage. We are, however, concerned with the 5th ship of this name, the Town class light cruiser and the namesake ship of the Edinburgh subclass. The Town class consisted of 3 subclasses: Southampton, consisting of 5 ships, Gloucester with 3 ships, including HMS Gloucester, which we have gone into more detail in the video about the Fiji, and Edinburgh. The Edinburgh subclass comprised 2 ships, HMS Belfast, an in-game tier 6 premium cruiser, which will get its own video at a later date, and of course HMS Edinburgh herself. The Edinburgh was a fast cruiser with a top speed of 32.25 knots, almost 60 kilometers per hour, which is more or less also found in-game. For a light cruiser, the ship was very heavily armed and had 4 x 3 152mm guns, 12 102mm guns as a secondary battery, 2 x 8 40mm anti-aircraft guns, 2 heavy 12.7mm Vickers squads, and 2 533mm triple torpedo tubes. In World of Warships Legends, it's similar: main battery, secondary battery and torpedo armament match. The anti-aircraft defense was somewhat tricked in-game and further reinforced. The 187 meter long and 19.3 meter wide ship with a displacement of 13,175 tons when fully loaded could accommodate an additional 850 crew members. What is displacement? This is the displacement of water and shows that the ship floats when the mass of the displaced water is equal to the mass of the ship. The displacement of water is thus equated to the mass of the ship. So if the Edinburgh was fully loaded, she had a mass of 13,175 tons and displaced just as much water. In any case, the Royal Navy wanted to make a real statement with the Edinburgh subclass, and both Belfast and Edinburgh were equipped with an impressive radar and fire control system and the ability to load up to 3 reconnaissance seaplanes. Launching on 31st March 1938 was followed by commissioning in July 1939 with the 18th Cruiser Squadron as part of the British Home Fleet. For some time she undertook patrols between Iceland and the Faroe, but was transferred to 2nd Cruiser Squadron in 1939. In the first attack by the German Luftwaffe on the Rosyth naval base in Scotland on 16th October 1939, the Edinburgh was one of 3 ships to suffer damage, albeit minimal. Curiously, this information only leaked at a very late date, as the Crown decided to keep the attack secret for the time being. A few years later, as an escort ship of various convoys, all of which are only moderately relevant, so we now jump to April 1942. The Edinburgh was Rear Admiral Stuart Bonham Carter's flagship at this time. The latter, incidentally, is distantly related to the famous actress Helena Bonham Carter. In any case, the Edinburgh, together with several merchant ships and other escort ships, left the port of Murmansk in Russia on 28 April 1942 under the designation Convoy QP-11, heading for Iceland. What happened before that? Immediately before the convoy left, the Edinburgh was brought into the harbour. In a flash, 93 crates were hoisted on board and placed in an ammunition bunker that had been emptied. Soviet liaison officer Sergei Zinoviev, a member of the Soviet military mission in Britain, also climbed aboard. The crates contained 465 gold bars totaling 5.5 tons of gold in payment for armaments the Soviet Union had received in aid from the USA. Of course, only a few insiders knew what cargo the Edinburgh had on board here. So, the voyage began in classically Russian in terrible weather, which in this case was good for the convoy. Heavy snowfall and thick fog hid the convoy from the eyes of German spies and German air reconnaissance. Due to the ice border on the north and the German presence in Norway, the convoy had to choose a narrow course along the ice border. This, in turn, was known to the German submarine captains even without concrete indications, and the submarine group Strauchritter lay in wait east of Bear Island. On 30th April, the German submarine U-88, in its first ever enemy run, sighted the Allied convoy and passed information onto the group, which set off on a parallel course to the convoy. At 16:18, U-456 finally fired a triple fan of torpedoes from tubes 1, 2 and 4 at the Edinburgh. After 80 seconds of torpedo run, 2 torpedoes hit the Edinburgh amidships at the level of the forward funnel and aft. The ship ran a half circle, but then came to rest slightly beneath the starboard. The propulsion system had failed, the steering gear was destroyed, and the Edinburgh needed towing assistance. Despite the full stern, the crew of the Edinburgh managed to get her starboard drive going again and to sail back towards Murmansk with 8 knots. She was accompanied by the destroyers Forester and Foresight. From the other direction, the Soviet Coast Guard ship Rubin, another Soviet tug, and 4 British ships immediately started to bring the Edinburgh and especially her valuable cargo back to Murmansk. The rest of the convoy, led by Commander Richmond on the Bulldog, continued towards Iceland. The U-456, however, continued to lie in wait for the chance to sink the Edinburgh and tracked her submerged with sonar and sounding. Her radio message at 22:15 concerning the current situation finally caused the German destroyer group Nordmeer, consisting of the 3 destroyers Z-7 Hermann Schemann, Z-24 and Z-25 to leave at 0:30. However, since the U-456 had lost the Edinburgh in the meantime, the destroyer group first set to engage the convoy. At 13:40, she finally reached the convoy, which was heading west along the passage. Despite the immediately raised fog curtains, the Z-24 and Z-25 each fired 2 torpedoes towards the convoy at 14:07, damaging the Soviet merchant ship Tsiolkovsky. Further attacks by the German destroyers could be repelled until they finally withdrew and made off in the direction of the Edinburgh. The Edinburgh was still guarded by the 2 British destroyers, and at about 6 p.m. the ships launched for rescue in Murmansk finally reached their destination. The Edinburgh was now finally towed slowly but steadily towards Murmansk. On 2nd May at 6:17, however, the Z-25 caught a brief glimpse of the Edinburgh, but lost visual contact again shortly afterwards to a snow shower. Only the Z-7 was able to maintain visual contact, but was immediately fired upon by the Edinburgh. Edinburgh's first salvo, however, missed the German destroyer. The second salvo was all the more accurate, destroying among other things the engine room of the Z-7 and leaving the ship unable to maneuver and slowly sinking. Z-24 and Z-25 were not deterred by this, however, and Z-25 was able to score a torpedo hit amidships to port at 7:02, slowly sinking the Edinburgh. The cruiser's crew got into the lifeboats and were picked up by the escort ships, while the German destroyers withdrew. As the Allies absolutely had to prevent the valuable cargo from falling into the hands of the Germans, the escort ships tried to sink her. However, 20 shots and several depth charges were not enough to send the Edinburgh to the bottom of the Barents Sea. Finally, the last torpedo of the Foresight had to be used to sink the ship. Incidentally, the ship was declared a war grave by Great Britain and was not allowed to be entered. The Soviet Union fully recognized this and Britain's claim to it, even though the ship was in waters claimed by the Soviet Union. Shortly after the war, Britain tried to get hold of the gold, but there was no technology yet to work at depth. In the early 1980s, experienced deep-sea diver Keith Jessop's company, Jessop Marine, was tasked with identifying the exact location of the wreck and recovering the cargo. In April 1981, the Edinburgh was finally discovered at a depth of 245 meters, and a salvage plan was devised, which by 1986 had turned up as many as 460 of the 465 gold bars. The outstanding 5 bars were never found, and we innocent souls naturally assumed that they met their end together with the Edinburgh at the bottom of the Barents Sea. With that said, our video about HMS Edinburgh comes to an end as well. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We'll be back with more gameplay videos soon, and we're gonna reach legendary tier light cruiser HMS Minotaur. See you soon, and dere!